So, yes, I've been doing this for 35 years. So I either love it or I'm just too lazy to change. So having a philosophy seminar here as well as a technology seminar is kind of a mixed marriage. It's a little bit strange. But, so if you look, by the way, this is really big. Keep calm. So from a philosophy side, keep calm, be rational, be logical, right? Makes you feel pretty good. You really are just a number. That really means you really are just a number. So much for the self-esteem. So jumping right into the philosophy, we're just going to jump right into the deep end of the pool. And the ultimate question, what is the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything? Anybody know the answer?
42.
You laugh. He's right. Because in the book written by Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Arthur Dent and Ford Prefect go to the big computer and ask, what is the meaning of life? And the computer, deep thought, says the answer is 42. And I know that this is right because if I Google the meaning of life, it comes up as 42. And anything you Google is always right. Right? What? Now this might be the most ridiculous thing that you've ever heard of before. I know. It would seem that way to me, that we're reducing our pure existence down to the number 42. But the fact that we're saying that this is the silliest thing that we've ever heard of puts us as humans in a different category. We're different than the rest of creation. We're different than the rest of the universe, at least the universe that we know of. We can think about, boy, that's really stupid. So somehow it differentiates us from an aardvark or a gnat. What makes us different than them? What does it mean to be human? And we have to start here in order to get this base built. What does it mean to be human as opposed to an aardvark or a gnat? Well, self-awareness. There's no other creation, no other element in the universe that we know of that is aware of itself, that knows that it exists, that can think through things. We are rational beings, except for shoppers on Black Friday. We are rational beings. We are questioning, we reflect, we seek truth, right? We have this sense of right and wrong. And for any philosophers in here, please ignore this following statement. We have free will, because I don't even want to get into that here. Just play along with it. We are relationship-oriented, worthy of respect, worthy of dignity, worthy of love. That makes us different, doesn't it? That makes us different than an aardvark. Not listed on here, we also create. What other creatures create that can envision ideas and put them into something? Right? And we take this, and we are so special, we stand out amongst the rest of creation, but at the same time, we like to differentiate ourselves within being different. We label ourselves, right? We categorize. We sort, spindle, and mutilate. We put titles. We put names. And somehow we wrap ourselves up in all of this, in this thing that we call an identity. Right? It's who you are. It's like a fingerprint. There's no two people on the face of the earth that are exactly the same. We're all different. We're unique, and we cling onto those things that make us different than everybody else. And that's important. Now, a great example. I don't know if it can be on the camera or not. So, hi, I'm Jerry. John. Okay. So, we have now identified there's something about our identity. What is the next question whenever you meet somebody in a social setting that you haven't met before? The next question. Well, John, what do you do?
Yeah, right. Pastor of church.
Pastor of a church. So, and I'm a computer geek. So, we now have labels. We have a vision of what John does. You have a vision of what I do is part of my identity. And there's all sorts of things, just to name a few things, that we tag that makes us unique from everybody else. Our education. I'm from Harvard. Actually, I'm not, but you immediately get some sort of a picture, right? I work for NASA. You get a picture. I don't do anything. You get a picture. Your opinions, your religion, your hobbies, your gender, sexual orientation, everything defines who you are. That is your identity. And I surmise that we are in the midst of a technical revolution. Not an evolution, but a revolution. If you think about the Industrial Revolution, it was a process in which goods and services were automated, people created processes in order to deliver those goods and services to the masses in a quick and cost-effective way. It changed the face of the earth. Imagine if the industrial, holy cow. Excuse me, I'm having technical difficulties. Get the guy at the head end of this. There we go. So imagine if the Industrial Revolution hadn't taken place. Right? We'd be living differently. Technology is doing exactly the same thing. It is changing how we live. It's changing how society operates. You've already seen this before, so it's a preview. But you will hear the term the Internet of Things. Well, the Internet of Things means I want to be connected. We all want to be connected. You know what? I'm connected. You know, I'm going to be on vacation, but no, don't worry. I'll be connected. That's how we live, isn't it? And we want to be connected to our friends and our family, and our refrigerator and our garage door, and the lights and the cameras in the house, and my automobile, and my work email. You know, I always thought it would be kind of fun to tell all my neighbors that I'm going on vacation, and then go on vacation. Go sit out on a fishing boat in the Atlantic someplace, pull out my phone, and make my garage door go up and down, and the lights go on and off, and make the neighbors think that my house is haunted or something. You know, you laugh, but you can do it. By the way, with the cameras in the house, I can make sure that the kids aren't having a party while I'm gone, or at least I can witness what they're doing. That is the Internet of Things. And what kind of devices do we use to stay connected? Well, you got your iPad, your iPhone, your Android, your notebook, your tower, your laptop. All of this stuff we use to be connected. And how do we be connected? Well, there's an app. And there are just a few apps around, and this is a very small, minuscule, puny representation of the apps that we use to stay connected. Look at this. You know, and I don't know about you, but I get confused with all the apps that are out there. And I imagine that there's probably somebody who has an app for that. But we share pictures, we share opinions, we see each other in Skype. We offer opinions. We take pieces of ourselves and we share that. Facebook, LinkedIn, the professional Facebook. All ways in which we try to stay connected with each other. Well, so how does some of this stuff stay connected? Well, we put our stuff in the cloud. It's in the cloud. Don't worry, I won't lose it. It's in the cloud. No problem. I know my PC's broke, but I got it in the cloud. So as a philosopher, it makes me wonder, if it's raining, so what happens? Or if I look outside and the sky is blue, does that mean I can't get at my information? Makes you wonder. Anybody, you know, if you ask people, if you ask technicians and you ask professionals, what is the definition of a cloud? If you ask 5 of them, you're going to get 5 different answers. Nobody can really put their finger on exactly what a cloud is. But I'll give you a glimpse as to what a cloud most likely looks like. It's a large computing infrastructure that has all sorts of data. That's all it is, and is open to the public. If you think about the cloud as an apartment building, I'm going to store something in the cloud. And there's these little bitty apartments in there, right? So you can store some of your stuff in that apartment, and that apartment is locked. Why? Because they tell you it is. Yep, don't worry, it's safe. Because it's in the cloud. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Really. Unless, of course, somebody breaks into it and steals it all, and then when you come up and say, well, somebody stole my information, they will say, sorry about that. But you have a little bitty apartment, and if you want to store more stuff on the cloud, then you have to get a bigger apartment, and they typically will charge you a monthly fee for that. And you don't know exactly where this is, do you? Geographically, it could be anywhere. Could be in the United States, could be in the UK, could be in Russia. Who knows? Because with the way things are connected up, it is transparent. It is a community storage and computing infrastructure. So I put my stuff there. So I had my identity, right? We had the little guy with a little head with the fingerprint on it. And the meaning of life can be reduced down to the number 42, right, guys? I can reduce your identity on the internet, cyber identity, down to a number as well. The number is 10. So for all you ladies, if you ever wanted to be a perfect 10, now you have the chance. On, off, 1, 0, yes, no. There's no gray. It is or it ain't. Your cyber identity is 10. Now you really think that this guy appears a kook. So your identity will be a combination of ones and zeros. And you might be wondering, so how does that work? Well, we're going to have a little lesson. So when you're done, you will understand all this. You can pay your tuition to me personally on your way out later. I'll be happy to take it. So we're going to teach you about IT. So there's this thing called a byte. And each byte is an alphanumeric character. In other words, it's a character of some kind. Capital, lowercase, number, period, the punctuation, spaces, any of that stuff is a byte. And each byte has 8 bits, 8 little pieces that go along with it. And when we talk about bytes, you will, when you go and you buy your computer, yep, I got a 320 megabyte hard drive. A megabyte. What's a megabyte? A megabyte is 1,000,000 bytes. If you got kilobytes, that's only 1,000. Yep, I got 4 gigabytes of memory. 4 gigabytes is 1 billion. 1 billion bytes. 1 billion characters with 8 bits in them. The company that I work for, we have a storage array, a big hard drive, that has 500 terabytes, which is 1 trillion bytes. So, now you guys might know the answer to this, so no fair. When we had that sold to us, we were sold that it's got 500 terabytes of storage in it. 500 trillion bytes. I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't trust sales guys, all right? I want to make sure I got my bytes. Well, how do I know that they didn't short me a couple of 100 megabytes along the way? So I want to make sure that they're there. I'm going to count them. Make sure, right? Won't shortchange me. So if I were to start counting today, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, no food, no drink, no vacations, no bathroom breaks, no sleep, how long do you think it would take to make sure I've got all 500 terabytes?
How long do you spend on each one?
1 second.
1 second.
Any guesses?
2,000 years.
That's probably one of the better guesses that I've heard.
You'd be dead before you're finished.
What's that?
You'd be dead before you're finished.
Oh, I think so. Ballpark it? 15 million years. That's what we have in storage. That's when you talk about gigabytes and all that. These are all ways that we store data, that we store our ones and zeros. And to give you a little bit of an idea how this looks, by the way, the ones and zero thing is called binary. So a 0 would look like this. And you can see when you add a 1, it just puts a 1 on. When you have a 2, it moves it over 1 position. 3, and 4 moves it over once more, and so forth. Okay? So each one of these combinations makes this character. This combination makes this character. Make sense so far? You on deck? Okay. So we'll take my name. And I purposely abbreviated because there's a space and a period. So that's a J in binary. E, double R, Y, space, capital M and a period. So my name in binary is that. I've been reduced to ones and zeros. So now I'm going to take my name and I'm going to create what's called a file. And a file typically has a name. It's kind of like if you go to a library, you know, a book has a title. And in those pages would be information about myself. So in this file, I will put in information about myself. Might be my birthday, could be my job, my social security number, my credit card number.
Birthday.
I'm sorry?
Birthday.
Birthday. Oh, I don't have those anymore. I've given those up. They just cause me trouble. Anything I want, I put it in that file, right? And it will add ones and zeros corresponding to all of that information. And now it takes that, and I want to write it to a hard drive. So if you think about this as a newspaper, so people still remember what a newspaper is, right? I was worried. So on the front page, you usually get that little box on the bottom that says where things are, you know, the comics and the job, and the want ads and obituaries and all that kind of stuff. So if you think about my name as that entry in that little box on the front page, and all of my information, it says, oh, his information is in the comics section, right between Beetle Bailey and Marvin. So so when your computer wants to find your information, it says, geez, where do I find Jerry M? Goes to the little spot and says, oh, I see, that's in comics between Beetle Bailey and Marvin. Oh, there it is. There's all of his stuff. Okay? Now suppose I get worried. I don't think I want that out there. I better delete it. You know what happens when you delete it? Well, what happens is it goes to the front page of that newspaper and it erases that comic section. All my stuff is still out here between Beetle Bailey and Marvin. It just erases where to go find it. So when you hear about law enforcement agencies confiscating computers and doing forensics on them, basically they are ignoring that first part of the newspaper and they're pouring through the rest of it to find out what has been written on there. Because those ones and zeros will all represent something and will all be out there. Now, when you erase it, that space does become available for other things because it's no longer in the index, but we can't be sure that something else wrote over it. We don't know. So now we take our personal information and we put it out to the cloud, right? And we delete that information. That first record is gone. How do we know some of our personal information isn't still sitting out there? We don't know. We don't know where the cloud is. We can't get our hands on it. How can you be sure? Hello. So we've taken these elements and we share them out in cyberspace, our ones and zeros. And once you've released them to the cyberspace, you can't be sure where it is. It's no longer in your control, it's no longer yours. By the way, did I scare you now? I'm working on it. But we are part of a society, going back to being human, where we invent, we create. We have also learned that we sometimes take convenience over privacy. Oh, don't worry, you know what? What are the chances? I'll just go for it. Who'd be interested in my information? And we try to rationalize that kind of thought process. Because you see, I don't want to carry money anymore. I don't want to carry cash. I don't want to carry keys. I don't want to carry anything. I want it now. I want it easy, and give it to me. Yeah, I know I'm doing my banking on my phone. So what's the big deal? And we've become an impatient society. I want it now. Give it to me now. Now. Can you believe it? I pressed submit and I had to wait 15 seconds. 15 seconds. I got better things to be doing than waiting 15 seconds. Can you believe that website was down? Oh. Isn't that kind of how we're getting? Becoming less tolerant. So how many of us have one of these, by the way? So did you ever notice that when you walk in a room, you'll have everybody sitting next to each other, and what's the first thing that they do? So I had a colleague of mine that went to an airport, saw two people sitting next to each other, and they were both doing this. He couldn't resist. He walked up and said, "You're texting that person, aren't you?" The person said, "Yes." Really? Personal confession, my son lives in my basement right now in our lower level. When dinner is ready, I text him. It's a whole lot easier than for me to walk down there and to pound on his door and tell him dinner's ready. I confess. How often do we do flame mail? Do you know what I'm talking about, flame mail? Where you type everything in capital letters and it's basically screaming at somebody? That's what that's called, by the way, flame mail. It's really easy to do. You no good, incompetent. If I were to be anybody else on the face of this earth, I'd have them. Blah, 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 blah. But if you ever had to walk into the room and look at them straight in the eye, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't treat a person that way. But we do it through these. So we take all this, bits and pieces, our ones and zeros, things that define who we are, which should be the most important part. And as we put them out, we begin to chew away and we lose less control of who we are. We're entrusting it to someone else, and maybe of someone else that we don't even know. So by the time you're done taking convenience, by the time you're done, just because it's easier and I don't want to get grumpy, or it's just a number and who cares about me anyway, what have we reduced ourselves down to? What's left? You yourself are taking personal information, your ones and zeros, and releasing it to the public domain. And once it's there, so, you might be saying, so what's the big deal, right? Who cares about me anyway? Well, just so you know, I can buy your credit report in the underground for a mere $15. I can get date of birth, your social security numbers for $1 a piece. You can get a package deal, both for $1.50. Obviously, not a volume discount. Driver's license for $5. But if you buy the driver's license, wait, there's more. We'll give you the date of birth. Your driver's license records. Have you been in any accidents for $4? Background reports. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? I can find out for a mere $12. You can get what's called the fulls. These are a little bit scary. Your name, your address, your phone, your social security number, birth date, bank name, and routing and transit number, which identifies which bank you bank with, your banking account number, and your medical history for a mere $5 for $40. But the good news is that there is a volume discount. You know, you laugh a little bit, but there's a whole economy that's built in this underground information sharing endeavor. I'm trying to be nice about it. I can buy a brand new you with your name and address, with a name and address, phone, social security number, birth date. I can get a passport, a driver's license, and for a mere $100, throw in a utility bill because everybody else asks for one, for a mere $250. Or I could get a pre-owned you, in other words, somebody who's already around, that full Z with all that information plus a few stolen IDs for a mere $30. Hey, you can't go wrong. You can't go to the 7 Mile fair for that. Credit cards. Anybody here have a credit card? The Visa and MasterCard, $4 to $6. Somebody was just talking earlier about having the one with the chip in it. Those are a little more expensive, but we can get you one. Now, we don't want to just limit this to products. We want to have services too. I mean, like any good economy, we want to have services. So, if I want to have some passport services, I could have somebody generate some passports for between $200 and $500. If I want to learn how to hack all by myself, hey, I'm a DIYer, do-it-yourselfer. I can get a tutorial for between $10 and $30. Or I'm mad at somebody and I want somebody to hack up somebody else's website. For a mere $100 to $200, I can have that website defaced. All for your convenience. So, being a philosopher. There's a question of why. Why would people do? Why don't people take that, all that knowledge, and use it for the common good? Right? I mean, we all ask that sometimes, don't we? Why? Well, because for one thing, it's power, fame, and greed. Because you know what? They pay better. And there's unlimited funding. You have governments that classify that as a legitimate business. So why wouldn't you do this? There's gold in them there hills. So how do they do it? What are the mechanisms? I don't have enough time tonight to go through every possible thing that people do, but I'm going to pick out a couple of really important ones. And the first one is called social engineering. Anybody ever hear of social engineering? Social engineering is a technique that hackers and bad guys use in order to get you to do something that you would not ordinarily do. I'll give you a, not a cyber example, but a regular example. So I dress up, put an AT&T logo on my shirt, walk into the facility. Yes, hello, I'm from AT&T. I'm here to take care of the phone in that phone closet. Person on the other side of the desk is going, I don't know anything about that, but I don't want to be stupid. I don't want to make it appear as though I don't know what's going on around here. Somebody must know. Okay, come with me. Right? Somebody calls up. Hi. Yeah, you know, I was trying to get to my online banking account, but, you know, I forgot my user code. I got so many notes around here and all this, and I just don't know. You know, can you help me? Person on the other side, being an employee of the bank, may say, wow, so how do I know that you are who you say you are? Well, I've stolen, using other techniques, I've stolen bits of this information. So, what is your mother's maiden name? Yep, they know it. Oh, okay, well, your user code is, I forgot my bank account. Okay. Can you reset my password too? Because obviously I don't know. Oh, sure, be happy to help you out. That's social engineering. Sending you an email that has got a link or some action that you have to do, and you're looking at that going, oh, I can't resist, I gotta. And then you click on it. Right? That's social engineering. So I was reading about one today that's out. New method, same old ways. So the website gets hacked for banking. A person tries to go to the website and gets a page that comes up and says, we're having troubles with this website. Please call this number for help. And there's a phone number. And then when you call that phone number, because they have made that look very legitimate, you actually get a person. And the person has got this all queued up, knowing that if it comes from here, it's this bank. Hello, this is Barclays Bank. How can I help you? Oh, I got this web page up, and it says that you're having troubles with your site. Can you help me? Oh, no problem. What's your user code? Oh, and what's your password? Okay, good, yep. We got it taken care of for you. So by the time they hang up, that person has been in your account, wired money off to about 3 banks by the time you've hung that phone up. And then, while they're at it, they will then initiate what is called a denial of service attack, which means that they will send a whole bunch of email to that bank, which will shut it down from an online standpoint. So they're so worried about being attacked over here, the thieves take the wired money, and it's gone. Another social. That's how they socially engineer. And this is hot off the press. I was reading it today. You know, that was scary on a small screen. There's this thing called malware. So that would include things like viruses and Trojans and worms and all these things that can infect your computer. And usually malware is something that comes when you click on something. Just click on this link. And what happens typically is that a single file will come down to your computer. You won't know it. And then when you're not looking, it will open up and it will go back out to the internet all on its own to a site and bring in a whole package of stuff. And will unpackage a whole bunch of bad stuff on your computer. So when you're not looking, your computer could become a robot for somebody else's spam. It could be doing other things. It could be things like a keylogger, which I'll talk about in a second. It could be gathering up other information and sending it out. Some of your ones and zeros that you have housed on your personal PC. You could contract a thing called ransomware. Ransomware is something that when you click on it, it comes down and says, oh, just so you know, I have just now encrypted your hard drive. And if you would like to have access to it, please go to PayPal and feel free to deposit $250, and then I will unencrypt your hard drive for you. Plan B on that would be to say no, and then take your hard drive, go over to the garbage can and throw it out, and start over. Or reformat it and reload and everything else is gone. Your two choices. Had a real life example. One of our banks, one of the customers that we process, he calls me up one day and he says, I'm in trouble. Somebody got ransomware. Went out to their central file server for the bank that's got all of the records and started encrypting it. They pulled the plug on it and they had to scrap it and start it over instead of paying the ransom. Out there. This one scares the daylights out of me because a keylogger is a piece of software that runs underneath everything else and tracks every mouse click, every keystroke, everything that you do, right? So now you go to your online banking account. What is your user code? You type it in. Keylogger. What is your password? Type it in. Click. Keylogger says, oh, thank you so very much, and shoots it out to the internet to somebody else that now can log into your bank account. And you might think, well, that doesn't necessarily happen to me. Well, being the corporate pessimist that I am, and with enough exposure that I've had, one of our bank calls up, says, how could this have happened? How could what have happened? Well, a company that we do business with submitted a payroll file, and just like that, we noticed that there's $30,000 missing from our account from that company. How could you let that happen? Talking to me. I don't like to be accused of that sort of thing. What do you mean? Are you insinuating that I left somebody bad in? Granted, it could be possible, but it didn't seem likely. As it turns out, an employee at the company clicked on an email, downloaded a keylogger. The person who got the information then logged onto the corporate account at the bank as the company and wired themselves $30,000. I, as a guy who does processing for banks, my job is to protect bank accounts, the information in it. But if somebody logs in with the right information and basically gives me all the right stuff that says who they are, I can't do anything. This one scares me. And we have this thing called phishing. Phishing is basically you get these organizations or these entities that send out millions of emails, and they entice you to click on something. Which, by the way, back when this first came out, the people who put those emails together were awful. I mean, it was dead nuts obvious that this was done by amateurs. Not anymore. It is amazingly convincing now. And they're not upset if you don't click on something. You don't have to. Somebody else will. They only need some. So if they send out millions and 300 do it, that's 300 that they can use. Then they have what's called spear phishing. Spear phishing is when you aim at an organization and you specifically bombard that organization with these emails trying to get them to click on something. And then there's a thing called whale phishing. Anybody know what whale phishing is? That's when they go after the big fish, the corporate executives. Because who are the ones most likely to click on something? I don't know. Sample. Royal Bank. It has come to our attention that you have not logged on to your online banking account for some time. That's very nice. Now, as a security measure, we must suspend your online account. And if you'd like to continue to use the online banking facility offered by Royal Bank, please click the link below. Testing one out there. And renew your security details immediately. Failure to do so will result in your online account being suspended. Don't want that to happen. Can't get money. I better click on it. Well, let's take a really close look at this. First of all, they misspelled the word facility. I didn't read the whole thing. We are sorry for any convenience caused, which I'm sure that they're extremely sorry for any convenience that they would be causing, and hope you continue to use our online banking facility, which is, at least they are consistent, spelt wrong. If they're so worried about you, why would they say, dear valued customer? Why wouldn't they put your name in there? If you're so important, at least call you by name. But at first glance, this is pretty convincing. And the thing is that you have to look. You have to look at these emails. Would this person be sending this to you? Now, I got one. So my wife and I, we belong to Costco. We have a Costco in Grafton. And they give you an American Express card. Funny, the next day I went to work and I got in my work email a notification from American Express thanking me for my new account. They didn't have my work email address. I wouldn't click on that. That'd be crazy. They wouldn't know me there. And that's the way you have to think. It's too bad, but it is the fact. It's the way you have to think. You have to interrogate. Would this person send it to you? Would this person be saying those things? Would this person talk to you? Would this person write an email in that manner? Another one, the IRS. Dear taxpayer. Now you might be saying, Well, okay, yeah, so they are about as personal as your taxpayer, but they're telling you that you have this coming and to click here. Would the IRS really send you an email? Really? These are the things. One trick that you can do is when you get these links, take your mouse and hover it over this, and it will show you what the link is. And oftentimes you will see in there that it is not who it says it is. And if you look up there, it says no reply at irxt.com. That's not the internet. I mean, that's not the IRS. These are phishing. And if you click on this or you click on that other thing, they may load that keylogger I was talking about. They may load ransomware. They may load some of this other malware. So does anybody ever do it? Well, JP Morgan Chase got compromised. $80 million households. Target. Anybody remember Target? 110 million households. Home Depot. Victim. 56 million cards. By the way, let's say you go to your bank, that the bank says, okay, yep, we're going to issue you a new card and you're going to get so much time on free credit reporting, right? Where you can go check your credit. Have you ever gotten those things? Do you realize that it costs the bank between $200 and $400 per account in order to do that? To order new plastic, to issue new money, and to get those credit reports. Now you multiply that by millions. Now I'm going to take this one step further. Who do you think is going to pay for that? Do you think the bank is going to pay for that? Directly, yes. Indirectly, They have these things called processing fees and service charges. Who's going to pay for that? Sony. Anybody remember the Sony? What was that one? And But do you remember what their attack was?
PlayStation servers.
Is what?
PlayStation servers.
Do you remember the interview? And all the press it got? The North Korea president turned Sony over. Lately, Anthem Blue Cross. 80 million. We become desensitized to some extent. We don't get all worked up anymore. But my question to you is, are your ones and zeros worth it? I can't decide that for you. Are you willing to take all of these things that are important to you and allow it to be reduced to this? So, I'm sure you're asking, what do I do? Believe it or not, the government has organizations and entities, along with other world organizations and entities, that are truly trying to stop some of these organizations. I have personally worked with the FBI and InfraGard and Spam House, trying to get control over some of the activity that we see. They try to stop it further out. But the real responsibility, and I'll break this to you, but it's your responsibility to make sure that you protect yourself. You can't in every case, but what are some things that you can do? Common defenses. You go out and you buy a computer, right? Make sure you've got antivirus on there. And not only antivirus, note to self, antivirus is good for about 20%. So we have a contract with an organization that does white hat hacking. I pay them all sorts of money to hack my organization. They can get past a virus scanner in 2 seconds. It's almost scary to watch. Most of these, though, also come with what would be called threat protection. That's worth it. Threat protection watches behavior, watches what things look like when they come in, looks at signatures, looks at all sorts of different activity other than just looking for virus, and will stop it. Is it perfect? No. Nothing is perfect. So, if you want to do like a checklist, awareness, be aware of what you're doing. Be aware of what you're clicking on. Have a strategy. How am I going to protect myself? What am I going to put in the cloud? And don't get me wrong, putting things on the cloud is fine, as long as you understand what you're doing. I myself have some things on the cloud. When I was in graduate school, I put my papers out on the cloud. If somebody steals them, I just hope they read them, comment on them, and send them back. I don't think that's asking too much. They're getting them for nothing. But will I put my personal information there? If you don't want it published on the front page of the New York Times, but you have to decide. Is the cloud basically safe? Yeah, it is. Is it foolproof? No, it isn't. Is your hard drive at home safe? Probably mostly if you've done those other things. Is it foolproof? No, it isn't. Are your handheld devices? Same thing. Have a strategy. Know what you're going to do and how you're going to protect yourself. Make sure you run things like the anti-malware and the firewall. Most of this stuff comes with a built-in firewall, Norton and McAfee and all those. By the way, those things that I had up, I'm not pushing any of those products. They just happen to be some of the ones that most people use. There are other good ones out there as well. If you can get into web filtering and anti-spam, those are good things. At least stop and maybe pick off some of it. And this is the one where people, so they go out and they buy this brand new computer, right? They have all these wonderful defenses on there, and they never update it. They let it, all the licenses expire, and they get these nagging things all the time saying, well, do you want to update now? No, I don't want to update now. Well, guess what? Update now. They don't just put them out there for fun. In my business, from Microsoft, we got what's called Patch Tuesday. I've never had them not send something saying, nope, our stuff is perfect. Never. Side note, Adobe Acrobat, or the Adobe Reader, and Java, if you use those are the most unsecure, maybe insecure, pieces of software out there. They're horrible. I'm not saying don't have them, but be aware. Secure connections. When you do your online banking, make sure you get the little lock up there, or make sure the beginning of the line says HTTPS. Is that perfect? No. But it certainly will give you a better chance. And complex passwords. ABCD1234 is not a good password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 isn't good either. They should include uppercase, lowercase, maybe some goofy characters like a period or a pound sign. Spaces are okay. One method that I've heard people say is write a sentence. Right? Write a short sentence. It'll probably have all that stuff in it. And imagine the length. For every character that you have, it is exponentially more secure than not adding that character. So having anything less than 8 characters is crazy. You need to do that. So I can get all of my defenses. I can get all the software, all the hardware, all the services, all the firewalls and that. But you know what? We got Dave in this corner. And the fact of the matter is, even if you have all this, he can defeat all of this. So all it takes is one click. In an organization, let's say like my company, we don't all have to be compromised. Only one of us does. From there, the hackers will have their way. And we got millions of dollars of defenses. We're trying not to have Dave. So you have to ask yourself, privacy or convenience? Patience or aggravation? Would my life be better being personal versus impersonal? Do you want your identity that is made up of ones and zeros in the internet look like this? Or would you rather have this? It's your choice. Thank you. Any